The only way to change. The people have to make the change.
Emily for mayor.
Yeah, fuck. The dirt that would come out in those campaigns.
Welcome back to Muse on the Mic. I'm Riley.
And I'm Emily. Thanks again for joining us on another fascinating and informative episode of Muse on the Mic. Make sure you like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on social media. You'll find all that in the caption below as well. And make sure you join us on Patreon every Wednesday for an additional extra spicy episode too. So, Riley, let everyone know what we're getting into today. This one's going to be super fascinating.
Yes, it's rage provoking. I will just say that to all the women that may be watching. It's hypothetical misogyny. Anyways, it's an Instagram video from Mr. Cult Daddy, and you guys just have to watch this because the rage is like building inside me.
Let's go watch it before Riley bursts.
So I asked ChatGPT how would society be different if men had periods. I made a post about this in the past, but I wanted to see what AI would say. Let me know in the comments what it missed, but unfortunately none of these are surprising. Number 1, menstruation would be a sign of strength. Periods would likely be framed as a symbol of strength. I won't read the whole thing, but it says there might even be competitions or challenges tied to how well men handle periods. Number 2, public conversations and visibility. It would be openly discussed without stigma or embarrassment. Commercials for pads and tampons would likely feature macho imagery, emphasizing how products help men power through their day rather than focusing on discretion or silence. Number 3, this one's pretty obvious, workplace policies. There would be mandatory paid menstrual leave. Bro, the US doesn't even have a mandatory paid maternity leave. Some jobs might offer special bonuses or perks for working through the pain. AI says the branding would be more rugged, performance-based branding, perhaps like athletic gear. Fashion would literally accommodate 2 periods, and the designs might focus on comfort and function rather than concealment. I can already feel the rage from a lot of people boiling up that are watching this. There's a purpose to this. Number 5, sports and athletic culture. Athletes would openly discuss how they manage their periods, and it might even become a point of pride. Teams would track the performance cycles of players, maximizing training regimens based on energy levels during different moments in their cycle. This is a big one. Medical research and innovation. Luckily, we're allocating so much money to this already for women. Research into menstrual health would have been prioritized historically. Instead of dismissing period pain or symptoms, extensive medical studies would be done to understand and mitigate them. There would be a wide array of high-tech solutions. Really makes you wonder if we would find a cure for PCOS if men had periods, right? Period holidays or celebrations, it would be treated as a major life event with milestones like the first period being celebrated. Obviously, some cultures do this. It says that companies or governments would institute menstrual days during the heaviest flow day. Menstrual gear and pop culture? Action heroes might have subplots about dealing with their cycle mid-battle. Product endorsements would feature male celebrities openly discussing the brands they use. Period talk in dating and relationships. Men would talk about the periods as part of their daily routine. Partners might actively support or understand the challenges, making it more common conversation in romantic dynamics. I'm wondering if the AI is assuming that women also have periods with this one. Period sex would be normalized without the stigma that sometimes surrounds it. And public accommodations. There would be ample period products available for free. Guaranteed the government would have policies where they would provide it for free to all the citizens. Gyms or public venues might have period-friendly services like pain relieving stations. In such a society, menstruation would likely be reframed from a topic of embarrassment to one of empowerment, where men could embrace their physicality of periods without stigma. Now, it's important to note that AI is only as good as the data that it is trained on. But the fact that AI can pull these 10 examples that I think we all would agree with from the data that it's trained on how society would be different is really indicative of how we live in a patriarchal society. This doesn't mean that men are evil and we hate women, but our policies and how society treats women is heavily biased and skewed to one perspective. But one of the biggest issues that we have is when women speak up about this, they're often ostracized or called selfish. But listen, I'm all about efficiency. I'm all about optimization. And I firmly believe that society will not reach our peak efficiency until we stop treating women as second-class citizens. I also feel like many men would feel the same way. The issue is this just isn't discussed, or it doesn't come into their purview because we're men. We don't have to deal with it. So a lot of people don't realize just how bad things are, or rather the tweaks that we can make to make things better. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Love you. Bye.
So, how would society be different if men had periods? I'm floored.
Let's take a moment for that to sink because, whew, that was a lot. First of all, it was a lot. I don't know if it would be a lot for men to hear that, but it's a lot as women to receive that through my ear holes. I was like, come again? Like all of those are literally all the things that we ask for, fight for, and have raged through the streets for as women, as feminist movements, etc. Is like, why can't we have at least acknowledgement, proper
Mhm.
health care, etc., right? Like, why is it only recently, for example, they finally changed commercials with periods and pads to leave blue liquid and go to red liquid because we
Really?
offended the men by showing anything that looked like blood and was reminiscent of that. And so, like, where as a society are we? Because what AI just listed is so progressive. And yet it's not. It's so
No.
basic. If progressive means that basic simplicity of equality, at least in the sense that we are equally humans and equally have body parts that will need medical attention or systems in our body that need acknowledgement, then sure. But why is that a fight? Why is this something that companies and HR departments battle on the regular? Women are literally going broke sometimes. We're not being able to afford period products to deal with something that's literally normal. Like, what are all these things, Riley?
It is so rage provoking to me because it is so true. This is facts. That is exactly the way the world would operate if the tables were turned. And it's proper. I just don't understand why this would not be given to women. I mean, he touched on so many points about like it would be a sign of strength. 100%. The man would be at most masculine during his period. Like the viewpoint of every aspect of a period would be completely shifting. And that's the rage for me. Like it really is. And I mean, side note completely, period products should be free as far as I'm
Yes.
concerned, but I'll digress there. But even he talked about commercials, they would talk about how men power through their periods. Whereas for women, it's all about concealing it, being quiet,
Right.
not letting anyone know. Why?
Right.
Why this contrast?
That's my picture in my head is like a scene from Gladiator. And he'll be like, I conquered the world and I'm bleeding.
Yes.
Be so different. And we're told, don't wear white pants. It's not the time for skirts. I own tampons that have to shrink down in size where you have to extend them just so they can fit in your hand so you can discreetly walk to the ladies' room and do your business in peace. You can't actually like pick up a tampon and just walk on with your life. It is so strange. It is so weird to me. And like you said, the rage, it's so angry that it's making me laugh because I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is actually
It
ridiculous.
is, and it's not like a new question. I don't think this is new thought, but
Right.
I've never personally considered it. And as soon as you sent me that video, there was no point where I was like, that may not be accurate or that may not be the way it goes. It is factual. Like that is the way the
Uh,
world would operate. And so what else do I have here? Perks during at the workplace, there would be paid menstrual leave, 100%. There would be perks given if they worked through the pain. Like let's give them more credit for doing it. Like I just so frustrating.
And this is why I think, first of all, sex education, I always harp on this. It needs to be so much better, so much more empathetic, and so much more accurate. So does medical care and therefore medical education, because it would change so many things for women's lives. It would bleed down to politics and societies and what you keep in the towns and neighborhoods that you live in. It would change literally every single thing in what I imagine would be the best ways, even for men too, because we would feel more supported and we would flourish in an environment like that. And so, yeah, we'd probably be better women. We'd be better moms. We'd be better housemakers and all the things. Imagine how much harder you'd work on your period that day at the office if you got a bonus just for fucking being there. That's crazy to think about. And yet we're in a world where we have to fight for maternity leaves. Like
Mhm.
oh my God.
Well,
in my brain
I
cells.
think they even gave the example, like, let's take it to professional athletes. Like, I'm sure schedules would be built around their menstrual cycle. I'm sure
Right.
actors' filming dates would be scheduled around their menstrual cycle.
Oh
And
my
it might
God.
even be like in a glorified way, like he's more full of testosterone at this point or less.
Right.
I don't know which way it would go, but it would be considered in everything a man does. And I mean, if the roles were reversed, I hope that for him. But I just wish women were given, let's glamorize our periods, ladies. Like, that's what
Yes.
needs to happen.
Yes. Let's make it brash and sassy because it
Yeah.
absolutely should be. It's so freaking true. Oh, I don't use the word ridiculous often. It's my least favorite word, but it's absolutely ridiculous to hear all these things. I never even considered athletics or like things like actors on set for months at a time and
Mhm.
things like things you'd literally have to reschedule everything around. This is why I think all men should be required to try a period simulator at some point in their life.
Yeah.
Earlier the better, because how funny would that be then if you were aware of what it feels like to go into, let's say you get a new job, you go into the office and they're explaining, the HR policies and ladies, let us know, blah, 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 if you need time off, whatever, whatever. And he was like, yeah, because I know how painful that is versus
Yeah.
the other guy sitting beside him going, what the fuck? What do I get? Du-du-du-du-du.
Right.
Like it would just, come on. This is so simple and basic to me. Like, why are these things not automatically done in society? Because, listen, we celebrate men so much on this podcast, but we point out the hypocrisy often as well, the misogyny, the bullshit. All of the societal constraints have been built by men in this world. And so this is why, like, y'all really miss the women chapters because saying everything y'all build is wrong, but like there's big gaps, and
Yeah.
this AI should not be the first, well, not the first, but like be able to put it so tightly and concisely in a bow that
Yeah.
makes it so obviously duh, instead of years and years and years of like, when did the feminist movement start? We're talking 50 years ago. Like, come on, people. This is
Well,
ridiculous.
and I
All
know,
that energy could have gone to something better.
and I
Oh,
know we're going to get into chat GPT and abortions, which we'll touch on a bit. But I even was thinking to myself, what about menopause? Now, if this was part of this AI little project here, I guarantee you menopause would be like this significant point in a man's life where that inflicts retirement. Like, that's what
yes.
he would be given. Instead of fight through fucking menopause while you're at your job, he'd be like, time to retire. Like,
The minute the hot flashes started, be like, all right, guys, retirement party in 3 months. Get me
yeah,
my watch.
100%.
Absolutely. Be given a trophy, be given an award, a big thank you ceremony from the company for providing your service for so many years.
Yeah. It's time for you to
Be
go
a
through this now.
celebration. Right. You've done enough, sir. It's time to rest.
Yeah. It's wild.
And of all of the women's things, right? Going from first periods all the way through pregnancy, menstruation, all the stuff, menopause is the most ignored, to be
Yeah.
honest. Nobody wants to talk about what some, older woman is going through in her life. It is to everybody the most unsexy topic. And oh my God, the lack of support for the real life medical conditions that happen because of menopause. We're not just talking about the hot flashes are always funny to joke about. First of all,
Right.
they're very real and very uncomfortable. I've known many women that have dealt with them.
Mhm.
I'm not there yet. Knock wood. I'm not sure how mine's going to go. But, I've seen women really, really struggle. And the internet helps a little bit, but there's such a lack in literature, in advice, in medical research, in tools and aids and what's the word I'm looking, not just medications, but solutions to
Mhm.
dealing with the symptoms, because not all the symptoms are just surface level. Some of them are
Mhm.
downright medical conditions, diseases, ongoing chronic illness things
Mental health.
that are literally hell and just a phase of this chunk of your life. But for some, that's a 12-year phase. Like, give me a break. Men can barely get through a cold for a week. Stop it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Dreams, I get it.
The reality bites, eh?
My husband came to me and said, "Babe, I found this website called Etsy, and I bought something for the house. You know, the new house we just bought." I'm like, "Okay." Really not thinking anything of it, thinking maybe like you bought some art or something. It came in the mail today. I am truly at a loss for words. I hope y'all are ready for this.
You're craving something a little extra, aren't you? Subscribe to our Patreon and enjoy the ride.
She pisses me off. And this is why I jumped to like, I wonder what this would be like for abortion. Because I think pregnancy, there's a rose-colored glasses to it. Everybody knows that's a happy time and we're bringing a
Right.
baby in the world. And so it's a little bit softer to talk about. Abortion is obviously a hot button issue in politics. But if we're just talking as a societal construct, I thought, well, if AI is saying that the world would treat a period this way, then hell am I curious about how they would treat an abortion, because there's by choice abortion, there's medically necessary abortion, right? And medically necessary abortion can happen within first weeks of conception and there's a problem, ectopic pregnancies and the like. It can go all the way down to like 8.5 months where suddenly a defect has developed in the fetus and the baby, and they're not going to be able to live the moment they're outside of the woman's body. And if the baby stays in the woman's body, the woman dies from toxicity. So whose
Right.
life are we choosing here? And anti-abortion people, pro-life people, I use that lightly because as soon as you're born, they don't care about you. So pro-life people just acknowledge all of it is just murder automatically, right? They take a religious angle to it, and you're just now the devil reincarnated. But imagine if that was man who had to walk around and go, well, am I going to die for this?
Right.
Like, fuck no. Like, I haven't seen my dick in 9 months. I didn't do this for me to just croak. Like, they
Yeah.
would not be having it. It wouldn't be a religious discussion whatsoever. So I use the same like question premise that he said, like in a hypothetical world, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of the answers I asked for 10 bullet points. They were very similar to some of the ones that he mentioned. But I decided to do a bit of a follow-up question because I wanted to know. I said, okay, thank you. Contrast this to current abortion policies in the Western world. And I use the Western world as just a main focus because it can get really complicated after that. But it did a really good comparison. I'm going to read a couple of them because they just stood out to me. For example, accessibility and legal protections, right? Which is a lot of where the political side comes in, right? Who's allowed to have one? Is it legal? Is it not? Current reality, abortion is legal in most Western countries, but often come with restrictions such as waiting periods, mandatory counseling, and gestational limits. Accessibility can be varied based on geography, politics, and even rural areas are often underserved. In a male pregnancy scenario, legal and logistical barriers would at least be minimized or altogether eliminated. Abortion could be treated as an unquestioned medical right with fewer obstacles and greater availability, even in remote areas.
Yep.
What? Like, of course. I mean, there's nothing surprising here, and yet it's jaw-dropping, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because of course, this would be 911 medical emergency. Bob has to go to the hospital. Like, it would not be a question. It would not be a scenario like some red states right now, where if the doctor tries to treat you, they go to prison for 10 years for murder. Like, it is insane. If you if you had to get Bob out of his state of Kansas that doesn't allow it over to, I don't know, some other Michigan to get it done, the people that transport, the bus driver, the person that bought your bus ticket, anybody that aided and abetted this mission is also going to prison.
Right.
Jesus didn't even say that. This stuff is madness. So the other one I wanted to point out is healthcare prioritization. So the current reality is that reproductive health care is often underfunded and politically debated. Anti-abortion movements have substantial influence in shaping policy in various countries. The male pregnancy scenario. Reproductive health care would likely receive the highest of prioritization and funding to grow new societies, with abortion framed as a matter of men's health and their productivity.
Mm-hmm.
What the
It's just it's a wild world out there. I
want to throw my phone.
Women have to fight. Men, and listen, we love you guys. We just finished filming one of our men's appreciation episodes, which feels so in contrast to this episode. I was just saying that to Emily, but we love and adore you guys. But this is so infuriating as a woman. And I'm sure some of you guys can understand that, or I hope you do.
Well, most people know how to use ChatGPT nowadays. Let's get some questions. I mean, I could have dove a lot deeper into this. How would this reframe political debates? How would this reframe, healthcare access if you live in a small town? Like, give me more details, right? But it also made me think, what about pregnancy? You just said, what about menopause? What about general knowledge that people would have of just our parts? I remember one of our women's bodies episodes, the one where we reacted to Jimmy Kimmel on the street, asking people about women's bodies, and the guy that put the uterus upside down. Like, we would listen, nobody doesn't know where a dick is.
Right.
Nobody. Lesbians know where a dick is. Give me a break. This is crazy. This is just the last episode we recorded, the men's episode, made me want to hug. Now I just want to fight. Like, give me a boxing bag, because this is maddening. It's in black and white, and it's that simple. And yet women are dying everywhere that can't get access to proper health care. Mm-hmm. Like, real life stories. Some of the stories coming out of America right now of women living in some of these states that it's 0 abortion options with the murder charges and stuff. We are talking young women. We're talking young mothers. And listen, the religious right loves the nuclear family, the 1950s, the mom, the dad, the picket fence, the 3 kids and a dog, right? That's impossible to do if your wife dies from trying to give birth, or a pregnancy that goes wrong. Like, you're going against your own mission here. And hearing stories of a 22-year-old just having her first baby that just died in the middle of it because no doctor could treat her because you're not close enough to death yet is just the most maddening thing. Imagine they did that about heart attacks and said, well, we can't touch you until you flatline. Like,
right.
What? Are you kidding me?
That's a good comparison.
Insane. Right? Well, like, they would never do things like Nick Cannon, stop making so many babies. The solution is we're going to chop your penis off if you come to the hospital. Like, there's just nothing so drastic for men. I remember I watch a lot of C-SPAN because I'm a political geek. And I remember watching a hearing in America. I think it was Kamala Harris, actually, that was asking, when she used to be a senator. And she was asking, I know who it was, because Supreme Court Justice in his confirmation hearing, that was like, Brett Kavanaugh is his name. I was like, can you tell me any law in America that regulates a man's health care? And he fiddled and he was like, can you rephrase the question? Or, I'm not sure what you mean. And played dumb for a while. And she was like, I'll say it again. Can you name just one law anywhere in this country that regulates a man's health care? And he was like, I'd have to look through whatever, but off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. She's like, that's all, Your Honor. Boom, right? Like, again, the rage. I'm like, cartoon smoke out my ears, because make any sense. This stuff affects men just as much. There were husbands to these women dying. There were dads to be from these women and babies dying. Like, what the actual fuck are we doing? If you really want nuclear families, well, then you have to help people get there. You can't ban IVF. You can't ban abortion. You can't penalize people for a miscarriage. Like, this kind of stuff is crazy. And ChatGPT, which is what, a few years old, it's like, I have all the solutions. So mad. I was just so mad because, listen, if you don't want an abortion, don't get one. If you don't want a period or never have babies. There's solutions for that too. There's hysterectomies, tie your tubes. Men can cut snip their shit and they can even get it reversed. So like, there's options. Why are we doing this to people? And why is society so strained that women are going through their workplaces and all these things, barely getting acknowledgement for anything? I know many women that have been fired for taking too many days off for period pain and stuff like that. Yep. And with men, they would get a bonus.
Oh, for sure.
My rant is done, but Jesus Christ, I'm sweating.
Well, you took a little turn with the politics there, so you lose me. So Emily is the political junkie, and I'm so naive. But to go back to the original, I mean, this is hilarious. I've enjoyed the episode, even though it would like provoke some serious rage in me. But let me know your guys' thoughts on this. Like, is this accurate? Because in my mind, it's hands down accuracy. Or do you think this is not the case at all? Is this wild?
Oh, I can't wait to see the comments on this one. I think it's just, I hope it's not going to be maddening. Oh, listen, we might have some right wingers that watch the pod. I don't know if they would. I think we're a little out there. We're a little. No, listen, right wingers use sex workers too, so they got to at least acknowledge that we're humans sometimes. Sure. They don't always, but anyways. I'm curious what kind of questions the audience would ask ChatGPT in this like category of subject matter. What would be your follow-up questions? What would be something that you don't know anything about that maybe ChatGPT could answer really concisely? Ask it for bullet points. There's a way to give the right prompts to ChatGPT so you don't have to read a novel. And it'll give you just some little short form points. And you'll be like, never thought of it that way before. We call ourselves smart as humans, and this machine is like, duh.
ChatGPT scares me. I think because it's so new. I'm sure in 10 years I won't feel that way. But as of right now, I'm like, that is creepy. It is so smart.
Really smarter than us.
Very smart.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But you know what? This could help your relationships, right? Because you could relate better to your wife or to your sister who's going through a tough pregnancy or raising a teen daughter and she's about to go through some changes. Lean on tools like this because they can help you. Maybe it's to have that conversation, or to start. Maybe they're 18 and their first, voting experience will come up. Let's talk about it. Use ChatGPT as a tool because it can break things down into really simple language and explain everything and give you conversation starters so that you can have those chats with your loved ones. And let's vote accordingly because the only way these things in society change is through politics, unfortunately. I mean, even marching on the street is a political action, right? So the only way to change, the people have to make the change.
Emily for mayor.
Yeah, fuck. The dirt that would come out in those campaigns. And yet, I'd be like, I know. I talked about it on my podcast. Yeah. It's not a secret. I have no secrets.
I'm dying.
that right was stripped from me a long time ago by our haters. But either way, I'm so curious what people's thoughts on this will be because it's controversial, it's hot button topics, and yet happens to every woman that every person's ever known, and every person came from a woman. So, like it or not, let's acknowledge these things, and hopefully, there's some change in the world.
I love it.
I love it too. That was a great one. Well, thanks guys for tuning in. I hope you learned some shit or at least some new ways of thinking. And definitely hop in those comment sections and let us know what you asked or what you would ask or even what ChatGPT said is the answer. I'm curious.
Yeah, me too. Bye, guys.
We'll see you next time, guys.